My poor daughter chose the man my ex left with, even though I'd paid for the wedding. So, I took the plunge and let the chaos speak for me. Hi there, I'm a 57-year-old guy, and I have to admit that I'm a bit embarrassed about this. But I really need to get it off my chest because it's been bugging me for weeks. I'm not really sure where else to turn, to be honest. This is about my daughter, Kay. She's 27 and a lovely girl. She really hurt my feelings, and I did something a bit extreme as a result. I'm still a bit torn about it. I just wanted to give you a little background, because I know it's important to you. Kay is my only child from my first marriage. Her mom split when Kay was 7, running off to Europe with some guy named Tom. I raised Kay by myself for 5 years before I met my wonderful wife Jenna, who is 45. I won't lie, those 5 years were a bit of a roller coaster. A single dad doing his best to run a business and raise a child who was really struggling after her mom left. Anyway, about 2 months ago, Kay tells me she's getting married to this guy, Ben. Now, Kay and I have had our fair share of challenges over the years. I know, it sounds unbelievable, but I've had to deal with some really tough stuff. But when she told me about the wedding, I was so happy for her. It's so nice to finally have something good to report. She seemed really into this Ben guy, and I thought maybe she was finally getting her life together. The thing is, Kay and Ben were just a little bit short on cash. She only managed to get a decent job last year, and they'd been living off my money before that. Oh, I totally get it. I probably enabled her too much, but that's okay, we all do that sometimes. They couldn't afford anything more than a courthouse wedding, but that was still a special day for them. So, I did what any dad would do. I offered to pay for the whole thing as a wedding gift. We're talking about a $50,000 wedding here, so it was really important to get it right. I'm not trying to boast, but I'm the proud owner of an export business that's been in my family for 2 generations. So, I've got the means to make it happen. I'll always remember the day we sat down to talk about the wedding plans. It was so lovely to see how happy Kay looked, like she was genuinely excited. It had been such a long time since I'd seen her like that. She was showing me all these Pinterest boards and Instagram posts of wedding stuff she liked. I must admit, for a moment there, it really felt like we might just finally have that father-daughter relationship I'd always dreamed of. The lovely lady who planned the wedding was a guy who'd done a bunch of fancy weddings in our area. He was such a real professional. He had a whole team and everything. It was so lovely to see Kay there with him, helping him pick out decorations and stuff for the meetings. I just paid the deposits and let her handle it all, figuring it was her day, you know? Plus, I was crazy busy with work, but I'm sure you understand. I'll be honest with you. I don't really know that much about wedding planning. I remember texting her one night after she sent me some pictures of the venue she picked. Oh, this is just the loveliest place by the lake. I told her I was so proud of Heron that I couldn't wait to walk her down the aisle. She just sent back a thumbs-up emoji, which was so lovely. I should have known something was a bit off, but I guess I was just too caught up in the moment to notice. Everything was going really well for about a month and a half, which was great. Kay was doing all the wedding prep stuff, and I was paying all the bills, which kept getting bigger. By the way, hey, we totally get it, who really needs a chocolate fountain and an ice sculpture, right? I thought we were doing really well. I even started working with my tailor to get a nice suit made. Jenna was so kind and helpful, helping me pick out the perfect colors. She's always been so kind and supportive of Kay, even though Kay has been a bit mean to her for years. But then, little things started to feel off, you know? Jenna's cousin bumped into one of Kay's friends at a cafe, and they got talking about how excited we all were for the wedding. It seems Kay's friend looked a little puzzled and said, "Oh, I thought she wasn't inviting them." She said Kay had to cut out toxic family members for her mental health, which is really tough. Jenna's cousin asked what she meant, but the friend just awkwardly mumbled something about a really traumatic childhood before changing the subject. At the time, I didn't really think much of it, just thought maybe she misunderstood. But now, I realize I should have paid more attention. You know how it is when everything just starts to fall apart? Well, that's exactly what happened when my lovely brother Joe gave me a call to ask about the wedding date because he needed to book flights. I thought I'd just give the wedding planner a quick call to add him to the guest list. It should have been simple, but the guy started acting a bit weird on the phone, saying things like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but the guest list is already full, and I'll need to check with the bride about any changes." Now I'm thinking, what on earth? I'm paying for everything, and this guy's acting like he needs permission to add one person? So, I gently push back a little, asking him to just send me the full guest list so I can see what we're working with. He starts stammering, saying he's not allowed to share that information with anyone, which just didn't sit right with me. That's when I got a bit carried away. I won't deny it, I probably could have handled it better, but I'm only human. I let him know that I'm the one signing his checks, and I'd love to have that list. Otherwise, I'd have to call his boss. I know it might have come across as a bit Karen-ish, but something just didn't feel quite right. At last, he caved and emailed me the list. My name wasn't on it. My darling wife Jenna's name wasn't on it. But you know what the real knife in the gut was? It was so lovely to see the father of the bride, Tom, walking his daughter down the aisle in the wedding pictures. Tom, the same guy who helped my ex-wife leave our 7-year-old daughter. The guy who told my ex he wasn't quite ready to be a dad when they moved to Europe. The guy who looked me in the eye and said, "Kay's your problem now?" before they left. That's when it all made sense. It wasn't just about me not being invited, they were trying to replace me, to erase me completely. And the absolute worst part? Kay had already been spreading lies to justify it. I called my sister, my parents, and even some of our extended family. Every single one of them had heard some version of the same story. How I'd been emotionally abusive. How I'd been controlling and manipulative. How she was cutting out toxic family members for her mental health. I must have stared at that email for about an hour. I really couldn't shake the feeling that I must have been reading it wrong. But no. The wedding planner even kindly forwarded me Kay's original emails. She had specifically asked them not to let me or Jenna into the venue, with a whole section about security protocols and everything. So there I was, $50,000 deep into my daughter's wedding, and I wasn't even allowed to attend. Not exactly what you'd hope for, right? She was having the man who abandoned her walk her down the aisle instead of me. The same man who hadn't sent her a single birthday card in 20 years. I know I didn't handle it the best, but I'm always learning and growing. I had a bit of a rough time for about a week, a wild ride, taking shots for breakfast, and then off on another adventure. Jenna was really worried. She did her best to encourage me to eat something, but I just couldn't. I sat in my home office, thinking about that email and having a little too much to drink. I called Kay about 50 times that week. She was so kind and understanding, right? It all went straight to voicemail. I left a bunch of messages. I started out calm, but then I became more and more angry and emotional. I can see now how it might have seemed a bit embarrassing, but it was all in good fun, right? What can you say to your child when they do something like this? It was really tough for Jenna to take it all in. She's been such a huge support in Kay's life. She helped me get Kay through high school, college, and 2 rehabilitation stays. Oh, that's a whole other story. She always had Kay's back when others gave her behavior a hard time. And this is how Kay shows her appreciation. The wedding planner was still in touch with regular updates about payments due for flowers. Catering, deposits, each one felt like a fresh slap. Kay was still busy planning her dream wedding, as if everything was perfect. I used my money to throw a party, but I wasn't even allowed to attend it myself. I found out later she was at her bachelorette party that week. I saw some pictures on my niece's Instagram. She looked so happy, like she didn't have a worry in the world. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at home, having a bit of a think about where I might have gone wrong as a father. I'm trying to work out why my child has done this to me. You're so sweet to think about it. I know I might come across as a little pathetic, but I really appreciate your kindness. A 57-year-old man, upset because his daughter had been a bit mean to him. But nothing prepares you for this kind of betrayal. I've had business partners who weren't very nice, gone through a nasty divorce, dealt with all kinds of problems, but this one feels different. I couldn't stop thinking about all the times I'd imagined walking her down the aisle. I was so grateful to be able to stay in her life, even though there'd been so much drama, arguments, midnight calls from the police and hospitals. I just couldn't bring myself to give up on her, even when everyone around me was telling me to. And now she was choosing Tom. Tom. After a week of feeling down and leaving some pretty embarrassing voicemails, listening back to them now makes me cringe a bit. I finally felt ready to sit down and have a chat with Kay. Jenna tried to talk me out of it, but I knew I had to do it. They said I should wait until I felt calmer, but I just couldn't sit there any longer. So, I drove over to Kay's apartment. It's a lovely little place. I was so happy to be able to help them out with money until she finally got a job last year. I was thinking about what I was going to say the whole way there, trying not to get too nervous, but wow, my hands were shaking so much. I get to her place around 6:00 p.m. I ring the bell a few times, and she finally answers through the intercom. "Hey Dad, I'm a bit swamped with wedding planning at the moment." That's all she says. I'm sure he won't come on to me like he's some door-to-door salesman. I know I shouldn't have done what I did next, but I just lost it. I started pushing all the other buzzers until someone let me in. I took the elevator up to her floor, and I could hear her and Ben having a lively discussion through the door. Then Ben opens up, looking a little uncomfortable. I'm so happy to tell you that Kay's standing there in their living room, which I furnished, by the way, surrounded by all these lovely wedding magazines and sample centerpieces. She looks at me like I'm something stuck to her shoe, but I don't take it personally. I'm just happy she's there. "What would you like, my friend?" she says. I try to keep it together, but it's not always easy. I really do. I ask her calmly why she didn't tell me about Tom walking her down the aisle. Her response, she says with a playful smile, was actually quite amusing, and she added, "At least he never replaced Mom." I said, "Oh, really?" This poor guy had no choice but to leave her behind. He hasn't contacted her in 20 years, and I'm the bad guy for remarrying after 5 years of being a single dad. And then she tells me something really special. Well, now you know. Well done. Hey, just thought I'd let you know that this will save you loads of time and money. Don't worry, I'll send you photos as soon as I can. She said it so casually, like she was just chatting about canceling lunch plans or something. Ben's just standing there, and it looks like he wants to disappear. Then she says to me, "I had to set boundaries, Dad. You know, you've always been a bit controlling, haven't you? This is my wedding, and I really hope you'll be able to make it special because I've had such a tough time in the past." At first, I thought she was just being a bit dramatic, but I soon realized she was actually feeling really down. Then, the ever-supportive Ben pipes up. "I remember Kay telling me that you had a bit of a temper when you were younger, bless you. She told me that you were a bit of a strict parent, weren't you? I mean, you'd yell at her all the time and even threaten to send her away if she misbehaved." Ben is still going on about how I never really supported her and that I just tried to control everything she did. I just stood there, amazed. Kay had convinced her own fiancé that I was some kind of abusive monster. Poor thing. I asked Kay how she could do this to me, to Jenna. She cuts me off. Oh dear, it looks like the Jenna drama is back again. Poor Dad and his precious Jenna. I know we've only just met, but have you ever thought that I might not want your replacement wife at my wedding? That's when I noticed something. There's a lovely framed photo of her and Tom on her coffee table. Here's a recent photo of her. I'm so happy to tell you that they've been in touch with each other for months now. She'd been planning this whole thing behind my back, using my money to fund a wedding where she could play happy family with the guy who threw her away. I asked her what I could have done to make her prefer Tom to walk her down the aisle. Her response, "You're being dramatic. That's exactly why I didn't tell you. You know, you always make everything about your feelings. This is my wedding, and I'm so excited to share it with you. It was my choice, and I'm happy with it. You're just the checkbook, my friend. Just the checkbook, please." I've been there for her through thick and thin, through good times and bad, and she thinks of me as nothing more than a checkbook. I looked at Ben and said, "Good luck, my friend. You're going to need it." Then I left. The whole confrontation was only about 15 minutes, but it felt like hours. I drove home in a day, which was really nice. I had to pull over at one point because I was struggling to catch my breath. I called Jenna to come and get me because I couldn't drive anymore. When Jenna picked me up, she looked at my face and immediately thought of Kay. how we used to go out for ice cream on bad days when she was little. She didn't say a word. She just let me sit there and enjoy my Sunday, trying not to completely fall apart in public. After that little incident at her apartment, I just couldn't let it go. I gave her a call the next day and, amazingly, she actually picked up, probably by accident. I asked her what I could have done to upset her. I don't know why I acted like that, but I really needed to know the answer. She just let it all out, and it was like she had 20 years of built-up resentment pouring out of her. I know it might be a bit harsh, Kay, but you really made it sound like I'm the worst father ever. You said I rubbed a stepmom in her face, and I'm really sorry if that's what happened. I know it might sound strange, but I didn't even start thinking about dating again until 5 years after her mom left. I'd been doing my best to be a single dad, running a business and dealing with a child who, unfortunately, had been misbehaving more and more. And Jenna, she's been absolutely wonderful to Kay. Such a kind and thoughtful person, going above and beyond what anyone could expect. When Kay was caught with pills at secondary school, it was a really tough time for her. Oh, you know it was. Jenna was the one who found her a counselor, which was really kind of her. When Kay was struggling, Jenna was there to help, spending hours tutoring her. But according to Kay, Jenna's just a gold digger who stole her dad. Then she told me about something that happened when she was living with my sister. I know it's been a bit of a rough patch for Kay recently, and I thought it might be good for her to try something new. My sister has a daughter the same age, so I thought that maybe spending time with a cousin would be a nice change. Oh no! I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but Kay started bullying my niece. It was terrible, and it really put a strain on the poor child. When I spoke to Kay about it, she was really surprised that I didn't take her side. She got a bit upset when I wouldn't defend her behavior. I totally get where she's coming from, because she's right. I did choose other people over my own daughter. I know she has a tendency to forget the times I did choose her, like when she got caught with those pills at school. I really fought like hell to keep her from getting expelled. I put my best foot forward and asked everyone I knew for help. When her grades weren't quite good enough for the college she wanted, I used my business contacts to get her into a place that would be better for her. And of course, there's the money stuff to think about. Oh, the money thing. I know it can be a bit of a struggle sometimes. I know we all want the best for our kids, and I'm sure we all know how expensive rehab can be. I really do, and I'm happy to do it. Twice. The first time was just after college, when she got a bit carried away with taking pills again. The second time was a year later. I remember how, whenever I'd drop everything to help her, I'd go to the ends of the earth to find a way to help. I'd max out credit cards, take out loans, whatever it took. She lived with us until last year, and she never paid a dime in rent. I even paid for her car, her phone, her credit cards, everything. I know we had our differences, and yes, there were some pretty heated arguments. But I'll always remember the time she called Jenna. I'm sure it was a tough moment for her, and I'm sorry if it was a horrible name. So, when those 3 a.m. crisis calls came in, I was there for her, because that's what dads do, right? But yesterday, she surprised me by saying that she felt I owed her this wedding, that paying for it was the least I could do after she felt I'd ruin her life by remarrying. When I reminded her that I was doing her a favor by paying $50,000 for this wedding, she got a bit defensive. Any loving dad would want to give their daughter her dream wedding, wouldn't they? I lost it, and I'm sorry. I gently let her know that she might have been a little too entitled and grumpy. Oh dear. I'm afraid that was a bit of a mistake. She started bringing up everything I'd ever done wrong in her eyes. I miss her dearly, especially when I was away on business trips when she was little. You know, the trips that paid for everything she had, and I know how much that means to her. I chose Jenna over her because I felt like I had to stand up for her when Kay called her racist names. Oh, you are not alone in this. Jenna's Middle Eastern, and Kay said some really nasty stuff about that. The final straw, she said she wished her mom had taken her to Europe instead of leaving her with me. But I told her that wasn't fair, and that I really missed her too. That's when I knew. After 20 years of trying my best to be a good dad, I realized that she would have preferred to be with the people who had abandoned her. After that call, I was a bit short on cash. Jenna found me in my office, and I was in a state of distress. It was the first time she had ever seen me like that, and it was a sight she hadn't expected. Jenna, bless her, took the time to sit with me. I didn't say anything. That's when Jenna finally lost her temper, not at me, but with the situation. In 14 years of marriage, I've never seen her actually angry, which I think is really, really great. I was a little frustrated, but I wasn't angry. She kept saying things like, "We need to protect ourselves," and "Kay needs to learn that treating people like this is not okay." Jenna's a teacher, right? They're great with kids who are going through a tough time. She said Kay's behavior was classic narcissistic entitlement, or something like that. I was sitting there, looking at all these wedding bills piling up on my desk. "Don't worry about the deposit. We've got you covered with a $15,000 venue deposit. I'm so excited to tell you that the catering is all set for just $8,000. Flowers, $5,000. DJ, $3,000. I just don't understand why there's all this money for a wedding when I wasn't even allowed to attend the one my own child was going to. It just makes me sad to think about my child parading around with Tom, pretending to be one big happy family. I just felt like something shifted inside, you know? I called my bank as soon as I got in this morning and tried to stop the payments on everything. But sadly, most of the deposits were non-refundable. Oh, never mind. At that point, money wasn't really my priority. I just wanted to stop this whole thing from happening. I started with the venue, called them up, explained I was the one who paid the deposit and wanted to cancel. They were actually pretty understanding once I explained the situation, which I really appreciated. The manager even shared a heartwarming story about his own child cutting him off. I guess misery loves company, don't it? I had to cancel the catering next, then the flowers, the DJ, the photographer, everything except the wedding planner. I really didn't want Kay to find out and have to make new arrangements. Petty? Yeah, I think so. But I was so hurt and angry, I couldn't think straight. I had this moment while I was canceling everything where I almost backed out, but I'm so glad I didn't. I saw a lovely picture of Kay on my desk from her high school graduation. She was actually smiling in it, which was lovely. I remember her being so happy, and it was one of the last times I saw her like that. I was tempted to call everything off right there. But then I remembered how she gave me that smirk when she told me about Tom, and how she called Jenna those horrible names. She said I was just the checkbook, and I guess that's true. I just kept going after that. The dress was already paid for, and she had it at her place, so I didn't mention that. I'm not completely heartless, you know? Plus, it was the one thing she'd actually been excited about picking out with her friends, which was really lovely. You know what I think is really unfair? I know how hectic planning a wedding can be, so I canceled everything, but I just kept getting these automated emails from the wedding planner. Upcoming deadlines, the final menu selection due date, the time to choose your father-daughter dance song. Each one hit me right in the heart. Jenna was there for me through all the cancellation calls. I think she was worried I might change my mind if she left me to my own devices. She was so kind. She even took some of the calls when I got too upset to talk. I remember her telling the florist, "No, we don't want to reschedule. We want to cancel completely." I couldn't stop thinking about how Kay would react when she found out. I really wanted her to be in pain, just like I was. I just felt so tired. I'm so tired of always being the bad guy in her story, no matter what I did. It's funny, actually, because this wasn't even the most expensive thing I'd ever paid for with Kay. I know that both her rehabilitation stays cost more, but this one just felt different, you know? But this wasn't me helping her through a crisis. I could tell that she was using me, and I felt hurt by it. Once everything was finished, I found myself sitting in my office, staring at the wall. We didn't talk much, but that's okay, because we were both just enjoying spending time together. What could I possibly add? I just sat there thinking about how it had come to this. I'm so embarrassed about the way I'm ruining my daughter's wedding. The lovely wedding planner was on the phone again, making sure everything was just right for the big day. I let it all go to voicemail. I just thought it would be best to let him know as soon as possible, so I made sure that everyone showed up to the venue, even though it had been canceled. I know it might sound strange, but part of me was actually looking forward to the chaos that would happen on the wedding day. I think so. But at that point, I was just so happy that I didn't really care. The wedding day started off as normal as can be. I'm at home with Jenna at the moment. We're both just sitting there, trying to act like it's a regular Saturday, but we can't help but keep checking our phones every 5 minutes. It's like watching a timer countdown to an explosion, isn't it? At around 10:00 a.m., my lovely niece started blowing up my phone. Apparently, the wedding planner and his team showed up at the venue to start setting up, but security wouldn't let them in. I showed them the cancellation paperwork, and I'm so happy to tell you that everything turned out really well. The poor wedding planner was so worried. She called Kay and me, but unfortunately, we didn't answer, which must have been so embarrassing for her. Kay showed up at the venue around 11:00, which was really kind of her. She's already got her wedding dress on, her hair and makeup done, and she's ready for photos. My darling niece said she looked really pretty, which just made everything worse somehow. When security told her the venue was canceled, she was absolutely devastated. I started to panic and shouted to the security guards that there must be some mistake. She tried to force her way in. The kind guards had to physically stop her from rushing past them. My niece told me that Kay was saying, "Do you know who my father is?" A bit ironic, considering she didn't even want me at the wedding. I'm so happy to tell you that the best part was that Tom never showed up. He didn't even bother to come. My niece said that Kay kept calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. I guess some people never change, huh? Then Ben, the fiancé, showed up, and things got even more intense. Kay was trying to climb over a decorative fence to get into the venue. Her dress was getting all muddy. Ben was trying to stop her before she got arrested for trespassing. Meanwhile, the wedding planner was on the phone to his boss, having a complete meltdown. The guests started arriving around this time. Around 200 people showed up, all dressed up with nowhere to go. Cars were backed up down the street. Everyone was confused and calling Kay and each other. Total chaos. The catering trucks arrived. I guess nobody told them about the cancellation. They couldn't get in either. Now there are 3 huge catering vans blocking traffic. Kay was still screaming at security. Guests were standing around looking confused, and the wedding planner looked like he was about to have a stroke. That's when Kay finally realized what had happened. My niece said she just went quiet all of a sudden, really scary quiet. Then she started laughing like a crazy person. She told everyone, "My father did this. He ruined everything." She probably called me 50 times. She left voicemails that became increasingly unhinged. I didn't listen to them until much later. But my goodness, she threatened to kill me and Jenna and burn our house down. Some real psycho stuff. At around 10:00 p.m., she showed up at our house, still wearing her completely ruined wedding dress. Her makeup was running down her face, but she couldn't get past the gate because I had deactivated her access code. She started honking her car horn, holding it down for about 10 minutes straight. Our neighbors called the police. By the time they arrived, she had left her car and was throwing rocks at our security cameras, screaming that I had ruined her life. The police had to drag her away. Ben looked like he wanted to die of embarrassment. I watched the whole thing on our security cameras. Jenna kept telling me to stop, but I couldn't. It was like this was my daughter out there, having a complete mental breakdown in a muddy wedding dress. It was the worst day of my life. Honestly, the whole time, I kept thinking that this wasn't what I wanted. Yes, I wanted to teach her a lesson, but watching her fall apart like that was really tough, really rough. The wedding planner called me later about the final payment. I told him to take it up with Kay. He started saying something about his reputation being ruined, but I hung up. I didn't care at that point. I found out later that some of the guests had gone to Kay and Ben's apartment for an impromptu reception with a grocery store cake. Apparently, it was really depressing. The days after the wedding were intense, like nuclear fallout. First, my parents showed up at our house the next morning. They're in their 70s and had to drive 3 hours to get there. My mom was angry. She started going off about how we should never turn our backs on family and asked what kind of father would ruin his daughter's wedding. My dad just sat there looking disappointed, which honestly felt worse than my mom's yelling. I tried to explain about Tom and how Kay had blocked us from the wedding. Mom wasn't having it. She kept saying things like, She's just confused, and you're the parent. You need to be the bigger person. It's easy for her to say. Kay has always been perfect around them. Then they dropped the bomb. They offered to pay for a new wedding. They said they would cover all the costs so that Kay could reschedule everything. My own parents going behind my back like that? It really hurt. It really hurt. But Kay managed to make it even worse. When my parents went to her house to tell her that they were paying for a new wedding, she completely lost her temper with them. She started screaming that they were taking my side and betraying her, just like everyone else. Get this. She actually blamed them for her drug problems. She said they had exposed her in high school and ruined her life, but that's nonsense because it was her teacher who told me about the pills. My parents had no idea. She told them, I'm quoting my mom here, to get out and never come back. She screamed at my 75-year-old mother, who has a heart condition and used to watch Kay every summer and spoil her rotten. That's when my parents finally realized what I'd been dealing with. My mom called me crying later that night, apologizing for not believing me. She said she couldn't recognize the angry woman who'd screamed at her. That's not okay, she kept saying. Yeah, Mom, I know. After that, the family started taking sides. My sister, who Kay had lived with during high school, backed me completely. She'd seen firsthand how Kay could be. But my brother Joe thought I'd gone too far. He started this whole family civil war thing. Thanksgiving is going to be really fun this year, let me tell you. Then there's Jenna's family. They've never really liked Kay. I wonder why, but they've tried to stay neutral over the years. After everything that's happened, though, they've had enough. Jenna's mom called Kay some names in Arabic that I probably shouldn't repeat. My friends are divided too. My business partners are looking at me sideways, as if wondering if I'm stable. I was quietly removed from the country club board. I suppose ruining your daughter's wedding isn't a good look, even if she deserved it. The worst part is that I found out that Kay has been telling everyone that I did this because I'm racist against Ben's family. This is ridiculous, though, because Jenna is literally Middle Eastern, and Ben's family are just regular white people from Ohio. But the story is spreading. I've lost some contracts because of it. My secretary quit. I'm reading all these fake stories about myself online and watching my reputation tank. It's surreal. Throughout all this, there's a voice at the back of my mind saying, you did this. You're the adult. You should have done better. I can't sleep most nights. I just lie there, wondering if I went too far. Should I have just sucked it up and paid for the wedding, like a good dad? Then I remember how she treated my parents. Those sweet old people who have done nothing but love her. How she made my mom cry. Suddenly, I don't feel so guilty anymore. Jenna's been my rock throughout all of this. The other night, she caught me looking at old baby pictures of Kay. She just sat with me. She didn't say anything. I think she's hurting too, but she's trying to stay strong for me. Then, I found out through my niece's Instagram that Kay and Ben had a small wedding about a month after the disaster I caused. Just about 20 friends at a barbecue in someone's backyard. Tom didn't show up for that one either. Shocker. At least they got married, I suppose. Life went back to normal. Jenna and I tried to move on. I threw myself into work and was actually starting to feel okay about everything. Then, last week, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Ben. My heart basically stopped. I thought something had happened to Kay, but no. It turns out that things are way more messed up than I imagined. He wanted to meet for dinner. He wouldn't tell me why over the phone. He just said he needed to talk. I probably should have told him to get lost, but my curiosity got the better of me. I told Jenna that I was meeting him. She wasn't happy about it. I went to a bar in the city center. Guys, holy cow. It turns out that Kay and Ben separated 3 months ago. Why? Because she'd been terrorizing him, throwing plates during arguments, breaking his stuff, and screaming at him for hours. Sound familiar? According to Ben, she completely lost it after they moved to a new city for his job. Even though she found a similarly paid job there. She blamed him for isolating her from her friends and started acting paranoid, saying that everyone was against her. I didn't expect Ben to apologize to me, though. He said that he had seen how Kay had treated me and Jenna before the wedding, but he hadn't said anything because she had manipulated him into thinking that we had deserved it. His words, not mine. He admitted that he should have seen the red flags. By the time the wedding drama happened, he was already walking on eggshells around her. Believe it or not, she even threw a tantrum because he wanted to invite his sister to their small backyard wedding. She said that she was trying to take over everything, just like Jenna did. At his own wedding, Ben asked if I would help get Kay into therapy. He said that she has been spiraling since their separation and has been calling him 50 times a day, showing up at his workplace. He still cares about her, but he can't handle the abuse anymore. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell him, "Welcome to my last 20 years." But he looked so broken and genuinely worried about Kay. He reminded me of myself at his age. So, yeah, I went to see Kay. Jenna begged me not to go alone, but I didn't want her to have to deal with the consequences of Kay's poor decision-making. Kay's apartment was a mess, a really concerning level of mess. She started screaming the moment she saw me and called me every name in the book. She blamed me for Ben leaving, for her mum leaving, and for literally everything that had gone wrong in her life. I tried to stay calm and told her that she needed help, and that she could say whatever she wanted about me, but she needed to see a therapist first. She just laughed.
Then she said something that chilled me to the bone. She said that she hated Jenna so much that she wanted to kill her. Not like casual hate. There was a look in her eyes that scared the hell out of me. I left pretty quickly after that. I called Ben from my car and told him that I had tried, but there was nothing I could do. She's too far gone. But I couldn't just give up completely. I reached out to Kay's old best friend from high school. Her family were our neighbors back then. She lives in South Africa now, but they've kept in touch. I asked her to talk to Kay about getting help. Surprisingly, it worked. Kay agreed to go to therapy and even apologized to my parents last week, although she still says that she will never forgive me or Jenna. I don't know what will happen next. The daughter I raised is still in there somewhere, buried under all that anger and hatred. But I can't be the one to save her anymore. I had to learn that the hard way. I just wanted to update you all. Thanks for the support over the past year. Special thanks to the other parents who shared similar stories. It helped me feel less alone. It made me feel less alone. I suppose the moral of the story is that you can love someone with all your heart and still need to let them go. It hurts, though.